And we're back with next office hours. Once again, it's been a while since we've done office hours, but that's okay. We're back today because we're here for the community and to talk about NX. I'm Brandon T. Roberts on Twitter. Joining me once again is Zach. How's it going, Zach?
Hey, Brandon. I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I am good. Like I said, me and you were scheduled to be on a couple of weeks ago, but we had to punt to this week. So, but we're still going to keep it rolling.
Yeah, just building the anticipation. That's all it is.
I know we always have some good people that come through in the chat room. So if you're in the chat or in the Slack channel, we definitely appreciate you. And I think with that, we'll get into it. Like I said, if you're in the chat and you have any questions that we haven't answered before, or maybe we have answered them before, and need some clarification, feel free to ask those in the chat. Or if you're using Twitter, you can use the hashtag NXQA or use the NXQA hashtag to ask your questions there, and we'll follow up there. And of course, if we don't answer your questions today, then we'll go back and we'll look at answering them in a future episode of NX Office Hours. So with that, going to go through and look at some of the questions that we've at least looked up from that people have asked recently that we can go through, and then we'll get into chat room questions if there are any. So the first one that I at least found from the Slack channel was, does NX provide caching of test and build results out of the box? And this was actually asked on a previous episode that we did, and we didn't have time to answer it then. So I wanted to make sure that we captured this one in, because I think it's it's a good one to talk about, I think in comparison to like other build tools that are out there. So from, I guess the easy answer to this question is yes.
Question over.
Thank you. Whew, that was easy. But yeah, the NX does provide caching of test and build results in two ways. And I guess I could talk about the local one, and if you want to chime in about NX Cloud, we can talk about, we can kind of go back and forth on that. But
for sure,
locally, if you have NX, if you're using NX within your workspace, whether it be Angular or React or even Node projects, then we're increasing support for those there. When you run the NX command, use NX CLI locally, we still use that same computation cache to build when you're running a build or NX test or NX build to cache those results there. So regardless of which like ecosystem you're using it in, it's not a specific, it's not tied to a specific framework. It's just built into the tool itself. So that's done for you locally, and you can also cache other commands within your workspace by modifying your index.json file that has by default, it has a number of, if I can bring it up here, it has a number of commands that it caches out of the box, and it gives you control over which ones that you can customize to cache also. I'm looking through the docs here, maybe in one of the guides. But yeah, that's how it's done locally. And if you want to talk about how we do with NX Cloud, like at a global level, then I'll look about bringing up the page here for that.
For sure. So I actually just threw in chat Rarish from Nrwl did a really great video on this. I was trying to find it while you were talking about like the cache there, Brendan. So if you're interested in more of how it works, be sure to check that out. I think it does a really good job of explaining and establishing a really good mental model of what's going on. But at the core, like the idea behind the cache is sort of this age-old solution that we've had in computer science of trading space for time, right? Like we have the cache and we're sacrificing space because space is kind of cheap. And when we do that locally, we're doing that just on our local computers. And we're saying, okay, we've already done this, so let's check the cache. We're making that sacrifice, but the result is we get really, really fast results if something happens to live in that cache already. The idea with the distributed cache is just like it's a massive stockpile of everyone's cache, right? Like so everyone's doing their stuff. They're testing, they're building. And instead of when you're hooked up with NX Cloud, the way this works is in addition to putting it into your local cache on your computer, it also sends it out to the cloud and gets put in a distributed cache, a centralized cache. And then when someone else happens to pull down your branch and run a test target or a build target against something you've happened to already do on your machine, it's there in the cloud. So when you run the thing locally, you're going to check your local cache first. It's not going to find it. It's going to check the cloud, and it will find it. And then you'll just download the artifact that was a result that your friend made when they did the build.
So
it's really neat.
You're saying it's like a social network of cache?
Yeah. You get to like things and everything. No, I'm just kidding. You don't get to like stuff, but you do benefit. Like the whole idea is like you never, regardless of which machine, you never build more than once. Never build the same code more than once, and that's really cool if you think about it. So,
right, definitely comes more in handy when you have a bunch of projects that you're running within a monorepo, which is of course what we promote NX just as a general build tool to use, so that you can take advantage of that caching. And as I mentioned before. When you create an NX workspace, you get some of these cacheable operations out of the box that you can define here. So build, test, lint, and EDE tests. So you can run those. If you run those, like in succession without changing any of their inputs, then you'll get the cache results on the second hit. And then NX, of course, NX Cloud, you can share those artifacts across, n number of people, n number of teams to definitely speed up your workflow. And there's also the cache, you can customize some of the inputs that go into that calculation of how the cache is computed. So if you have additional environment variables or things that you want to factor into that, whether it's a cache hit or miss, then those things you can customize that also. So definitely a good question there of what you can do with local cache, and like you said, bring it up to a more global level across your organization, or even like open source projects. If you have people that are new to your project and you've already been building and running tests, they can immediately pull your repo down and run the tests, and then they don't have to pay that initial cost of running all the tests if you have that set up so that you can get that cache just right out of the box.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Like it just the idea of pulling down an open source project and just running build, and it's there. that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I didn't see the link. If you'll send me that link again, and we'll get that in the chat here.
Oh, sure. It's I put it in the chat on my own YouTube account here, so I can put it into our chat here though too.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there it is.
Oh, it's got a timestamp on it. You can ignore that, but
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll show this. I just want to put this up on the screen here so people see it, and we'll also add this to the show notes. So there's the link there, at least just for the video record, and then you can visit the YouTube stream afterwards to click on the link to reference that video there. Okay, let's see. We do have a few questions in the chat here, so we'll kind of mix with ones that we've found and then other ones that people ask in the chat. So definitely, if you're in the chat, ask questions. We welcome those questions, and we'll try to get to as many of them as we can. Let's see. So this one is more of a general question. Are there any guidelines for commit messages for monorepos, given that the commit can be for any project in the repo?
I know with Nrwl stuff, we always try to do like a type and a scope. And I think we normally link our scope to like the project. Mm-hmm. I know that's how we did it. That feels like it works pretty well, but yeah. Any thoughts? Do you have any thoughts, Brandon?
Yeah, I would say the same. Just working with within the Nrwl repo for NX, and even just from other projects, just like NGRX, we use the same kind of approach to where these scopes, or the scope is usually tied to the project, and then we still follow like the same conventions of like fix or chore or docs or things like that for any particular one. So you still, if you keep those commit messages, clear in that way, then it definitely helps if you wanted to go back, just in general, if you wanted to go back, if you have multiple projects, to go back in history and see, what impacted which projects, at least from a commit message standpoint. You could go a little deeper if you want to like use your source control to see what changes happened across different ones. So I think it's a good rule to follow, to use the project name as the scope, especially if you, like I said, if you have multiple ones there.
Yeah, I've always thought, Brandon, it would be kind of cool if we had either like some hook-ins with commit as in, or some other project, and really standardized like the way that works. I think we purposely stay away from that, though, the same way we purposely stay away from some things like standardizing how like release versions should work, because we want to make that purposely like configurable and not standardized. So
yeah, and I think that there's some space in there. Of course, we have a great ecosystem of plugins and things all together where people kind of standardize around those things. So I think that's where we more or less lean on the community to provide those, extensions to NX to provide, like you said, versioning and committing. Yeah. And if somebody has like a plugin for that, because like, of course, you say everybody's, most companies' stacks are are different of how they handle the different commit messages or how they track those things.
Yeah. Since it came up, the release notes or for release versioning, I just threw in our chat, the nxpm.dev, which is run by bman, nifty little tool for doing like, I think it uses semantic version approach. So it's a cool little add-on or a cool little piece of the NX environment that's starting to grow up, which is so cool. But yeah, if you're interested in a release plugin, I think this is a good fit. So
yeah, definitely add that one. Of course, always got to give a shout out to B-Man. We had to get him on. We have to get him on office hours one of these days to talk about this stuff, because he's doing a lot of stuff. There's the link there, nxpm.dev, that has a lot of tools and extra things that he's built on top of NX itself. Definitely a cool project to check out. And like I said, well, definitely have to have him on to talk about some of this stuff, because he uses NX heavily and builds a lot of stuff on top of it.
Yeah, I think he also did the Go plugin. Super cool.
Yeah,
I use Go.
I remember when he did that. He was like, oh, "I'm gonna try to get Go working over the weekend," and then like a couple of hours later, he was like, "Oh, got it working."
There it is.
Okay.
Nice. That's pretty awesome.
Another one to add to the list of things on top of built on top of NX.
Definitely feels like NX is this like, I don't know. I don't want to say disease. That's a bad word. But like a beneficial disease.
Wow.
It's viral in the good sense. Like it's spreading. Like I think that's the goal. Is NX takes over the world. So, but not with. It's not malicious. It's beneficial.
Yes, and on that note, we're going to show you some plugins so that NX can continue taking over the world.
Yes. Look at all of them. That's so cool.
Like we mentioned, there are ones for Ionic and Capacitor. And I'm not sure if Bman's NX. Oh, there it is right there at the bottom. It's Go plugin for NX. We also have ones for Python.
Mm-hmm.
But that one, I
don't think that one's listed yet. Yeah. No. Yeah. But Diana did that one. And yeah. Super cool. There's another scenario where I feel like these really talented engineers just out there are like, hey, let me try this. And a couple days later, boom, there it is. This awesome plugin. Me and, since you have it on screen there, me and Wes on our live screen pulled up Vue. So, and just like made some stuff there. It actually wasn't like up to date, but we just needed to make like this minor change. Like everything was working in terms of just getting Vue up. So another super cool one.
Yeah, definitely check out that. I know we don't officially have support for Vue within NX, but definitely have some plugins that are provide some, as you can see there, first class support for Vue and the Vue ecosystem in there. So
yeah, at this point, it's like, why would we? Because we've already got this one that works. So first class support, that's all you need.
Yep. And there was a comment in the chat there. Justin said, personally use a fork I created for semantic release called Semantic Release Plus. That allows you to use semantic release tooling to work in a monorepo. We would like to create an NX plugin for that. I don't know if that was a question or a statement, but yes. Definitely, if you want to create a plugin, we have docs for that. To show you how to do that, I'll bring up the page here. You can go to this page on nx.dev/NX community and check out an NX plugin guide that shows you how to do that. So we got the plugs all over the place already. The next question, let's look and see. Let's go back to, we'll definitely got some good questions in the chat there. Gotta check to see one of the other ones we had here. And I think this is a reoccurring question that I found in Slack, is you have to have all the package dependencies in the root package.json. Because if you have apps, utils, library, data APIs, and a server, once you want to co-locate the dependencies closer to the required project. And which is a good question. And I think, like we said, we get this one pretty often. And with the monorepo approach, what we recommend is still having a single package.json that has all your dependencies, in it. Just because that helps, at least for one thing, it helps having like a single version policy across all your applications and libraries. So that way, if you have 2 Angular projects and 2 React projects, there's no chance of you having a React on version 14 and then another one on version 16, and Angular's on 2 different versions, and then your libraries have to account for those different versions in your workspace. So the root package.json definitely helps with that single version policy. And that way it helps with upgrades also, because like I said, you're all moving at the same pace as far as package versions go in the workspace.
Yeah, I think it's definitely just philosophical difference, I think, between something someone might expect from like Lerna, where I believe you have the package.jsons per project. So one of the philosophical tenets, I think, of NX is trying to make sure you just have the one version of a dependency across everything. So that's why we standardize to the one root package.json. I think probably what's causing, like, part of what's causing this question to get asked is there's definitely some friction there, especially when you talk about servers. And I know I personally experienced this working with like an NX workspace with I think it was Firebase functions, where you need to ship it with its own package.json. Just kind of, I ended up like writing a script that would generate a package.json every time I deployed. And that actually like works reasonably well, but it's I don't know.
Still something extra you have to do in that particular case, right?
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, I definitely get what the asker is getting at here. So it is like a friction point of NX for sure. But yeah, there's ways around it, like being clever and writing that script or something like that. Like that gets you kind of close. Definitely would be nice if NX had more tools, I think, to help alleviate that friction, though. So it's stuff we're thinking about, I'm sure. So
yeah, I would definitely agree with that. They were always looking at ways to, whether it be through plugins or like I said, having more automation on things to help with those kind of things. And I think at least with the like distributable or buildable libraries that we do, you provide you with a package JSON there that you can ship along with your project, or even like I believe our Next.js applications, when you build those, we ship one with you, ship a package JSON with you on those also. So definitely have some support there, but always room for improvement.
Yeah. Josh mentioned in chat here too, NX has publishable libraries. Doesn't that add package.json? So yeah, we do support this. So the idea between like publishable and buildable libraries is you can have something in your NX workspace, a lib that you could actually push out to like npm. You can publish it. So that will add in the package.json there for you. I think when we actually build stuff, we're still looking at the root package.json though. That one's actually more like, it's almost like decoration for when you actually want to publish it, I believe. I haven't dug too deep into that. So
yeah, that one is definitely there for, like you said, kind of as a I don't know, so it's a nicety. That one is so that when you have a separate, like I said, you don't have to write a particular script to generate the package.json every time. Because that one, I think for the most part, remains pretty static. The one that you ship with your library, unless you're like constantly adding dependencies and things. But yeah, for publishable libraries, the package.json is there for Angular or React libraries, so that when you build, it'll use that one instead of you having to like filter down your root package.json that has all your dependencies in it. Like I said, there could probably be something to be done to kind of sync the versions. But I believe I know at least in the Angular space that we build, when we ship a library, that we look at your package.json or look at the dependencies in your project and add those to your package.json. I know we do that for at least Angular and React. But I guess if you're having something different there that you're using it for, then there might be some extra steps there. Yeah, I think
Brandon, y'all use NX to build NGRX, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you using this the publishable libraries there to push out the different pieces, I guess, like the effects in the store? Cool.
Yeah, we're using NGRX, or using NX to build and package up all the NGRX packages just as normal Angular, shipped Angular libraries. And we use that same product. We don't use anything, specific there because it supports it out of the box. So like I said, we do have some custom tooling to like bump the version numbers. But as far as like building and shipping, we're not having to do anything extra there to publish those out to NPM. The dependencies are there, and like I said, our dependencies are pretty static in that way, so we can take advantage of that. So yeah, we have a pretty standard implementation of using NX like out in the open as far as publishable libraries go. So if anybody wants to check that out, definitely the repo's there, and you can just pull it down and use it. So,
and maybe look at the issues and do a pull request or something.
There you go. Always accepting PRs with NX and NGRX. I'm just gonna throw that out there. Those are always on the forefront. So let's see. Another question. Is there an easy way to detect which NX app lib I'm currently running? I like to set up configs, Tailwind, or other configs depending on which one is currently running. That's a good question. I don't know of a way to detect which app is currently running based on I guess you'd have to have something that runs. I think you'd have to have like a combination of, I'm just thinking out loud, like a combination of like run commands that have that you use the run command to invoke through some script that invokes the serving of an app. So then it would know what to do before it runs your particular thing. But that's just me thinking out loud. You have any?
I mean, I want this. I want a similar direction, Brandon. I think in terms of, I don't fully understand the Tailwind config use case here because I've never actually gone out and done that. But I think if you ever wanted to like write your own script where you're actually going through and just like saving that project name to memory as you run through the script, that may be a decent solution to. If you're writing your own builder or you're writing your own script to run something, that could be a good way to at least know what your lib name is or your project name. So,
yeah, I like that idea. So if you're using the builder, you're gonna have access to the particular project that you're running or that extra information there, so you can make some decisions based off that.
For sure. I have gone down the rabbit hole of trying to write my own builder before. And I remember sewing it to Jason, who does a lot of like the builder stuff and like a lot of pretty much all the NX stuff. He's like, why would you do that? Like you can just use those we already have. I was like, that's a really good point. So I think for like 95% of the use cases, unless you have something truly unique, it's probably better to use some combination of the builders that NX is providing. Just take advantage of Jason's work, and
there you go.
Yeah, that's what he does it for. So
lean on Jason is what we say.
Lean on Jason
when all else goes awry. Lean on Jason. I want to give a quick shout out to Bucky. He said NX 10 support has been added for our Vue plugin, so it works seamlessly with NX 10 now. And Nux support. Awesome. I think that's how you pronounce that. Nux next. I don't think those are the same thing. Yeah, like we said, first class Vue support coming in live. So
thank you, Bucky, and thank you, other Zach, who's also working on that, I believe. So
yeah. Okay, so let's see. I'm looking through the questions here. This one is another good one. I said, is it possible to export multiple buildable Angular libraries as one publishable lib?
I could take a stab at this one, Brandon. I'd be interested in your take on what I say too. I imagine so in the NX monorepo development book that we put out a while ago. I think you were working on this recently, Brandon, actually. But we kind of put out this concept of like the shell lib or the shell app, which it's like the one project or one lib that kind of just serves as a destination for importing all your other libs that actually do stuff in them. I imagine you could probably do something here where you created a buildable lib, a single buildable lib that goes and imports several other libs, and that may get to what Patrick's asking about here. So that's where my mind went immediately. But yeah, what do you think, Brad?
Yeah, I think that's one way that would work. I guess I would go back to why wouldn't you have like one? I guess I would look at having one library with multiple entry points, maybe as an option, kind of like what Angular material or how they have like you have Angular / material and then button or what are the other things in Angular material that I can't think of at the moment?
So what are they?
You got button, you got table.
You got overlay.
Yeah, overlays a CDK. Yeah, but the other things in Angular material that have their own distinct
form field.
Form field, mat form field module. Those are different, unique, or those are unique entry points in themselves, but they all come from like the Angular material package as one thing. You don't have to install each one of them separately. So I think that's a good approach to have. If you have multiple, you still have, I guess, a single library as opposed to multiple ones that you're trying to like roll up into one. So I think if you're going to go the other route, then you probably have to need some additional tooling there, because you're going to have to like build each one of them separately and kind of roll them all up into one. So yeah, I don't know if I haven't tried this, but maybe you could, like you said, you build them separately, you kind of roll them up into one and you re-export them that way. Is that kind of where you were headed with that?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where my mind was going. Again, I've not done this either, so I imagine that would work pretty well in terms of getting to what Patrick's trying to get here. So,
I think so.
I wasn't sure there if you were asking me or you were asking Patrick, Brandon.
I didn't know if he was in. Let me look. I didn't see if he was in the.
No, I don't think he's
in the chat there. Yeah. Yeah, we got some help in the chat here. Form field, button, radio, autocomplete.
Thanks,
you can't say if you got if you don't know. You have to just say those ones, and then the rest are just what they are.
You should have just linked to Angular material.
There you go.
It's right there.
Live Googling of Angular material components. Okay. So we have a couple more here. Optimize. Well, I guess we'll get to one more question, and then there was one topic that I did want to talk about. We do have some good questions, but there's a topic I did want to cover that is kind of more specific to what you've been doing lately. So we'll look at this one. Is there a good way to use a custom Webpack configuration for an app? Want to share types and run the affected scripts? Webpack configuration. Yeah, as far as custom Webpack configuration, if you're using an Angular app, if you're building an Angular app, we do provide a custom builder that you can use to hook into the Webpack configuration for a project. If you use the one that comes with the CLI out of the box, it doesn't let you like override the Webpack config there, but there's a Webpack builder, or there's a builder that allows you to provide a custom Webpack config that will let you, like I said, hook into that and provide your own additional configuration there. I'll try to see if I can find. Pretty sure it's in one of our web it's in our web builder. But I know that option is there to provide a custom Webpack configuration for an app because some of the things in Nx are built on top of, like I said, standard Angular dev kit APIs that you can build on top of there. Have you done anything with custom Webpack configs? Let me just get this out of the way. I generally stay away from Webpack configs, but I have done work on some of those in the past.
I have been lucky enough not to have messed with that, but I count myself very lucky to be able to. Coming into web development, I came in with Angular 2, and so I just ng serve, ng build. I even want to know.
Yeah. So yeah, at least from my perspective, like I said, we do provide this is the docs for bring this up here. Like I said, the docs for the web builder, and you can see here, where was it? I was looking under the Angular one. Okay, I just missed it. I just had it. I saw Webpack config there. This is the web builder that you, like I said, provide a custom Webpack configuration there, and you can modify that to your needs for the needs of your project. And if you're using the Angular, if you are doing this within Angular, then you can override the builder that's provided with one from NGX Build Plus, I believe it is. Let's see if I can bring that up here. But what NGX Build Plus does, like I said, is allows you more custom configuration for the builder that you get out of the box with the Angular CLI to let you, like I said, have more advanced access to do that. Yeah, so definitely some support there. This one is, then we have a guide here. Zach, of course, sent me a link to that.
Well, that's actually the Angular JS switch into Webpack. I just used the search bar on nx.dev, put in Webpack, and that was the first thing that came up.
Okay.
So I was just sending it to you, see if I could slide it over quick, but it's the wrong one.
Okay.
So.
Thanks. But
sorry.
I think it does point to what I was saying, though, because I was saying you can use the Nrwl. Sorry, I guess I should bring it up here. You can use the Nrwl web builder that has access to the custom Webpack config that you can provide your own. In this particular example, we're just using the one for migrating from AngularJS to Angular, or even AngularJS to React. You could do that also within this within the workspace.
Yeah, Brandon, if you want to put that on screen again too, just wanted to show off the little search bar. It's super helpful for just like if you're curious about something. I just put Webpack in there.
Live demos here.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. Like it's actually a pretty intelligent search, and powered by Algolia. Ben Cabanas did this for us. It's beautiful. Thank you, Ben.
Yes. Big shout out to Ben for.
And Ben does everything. I feel like everyone at Nrwl does everything.
It's Ben and Jason. Then the list. The list goes on from there.
Yeah.
Everybody that does everything. Yes, I think we answered that question there. But yeah, thanks, Jan Nicholas, for the question. Yes, we Google that for you guys live on air. That's what we do sometimes, because that's what you have to do sometimes.
Google Foo is a very important skill I've learned, and I've tried to learn from. I don't think I'm actually that good at it, but I know people who are. I've tried to learn it from them as best I can. So.
Okay, we got it. Yeah, Philip in the chat says he uses the web builder to build an AngularJS app. There you go.
Sweet.
He also says if you want to build something we don't support with a completely custom Webpack config, that's the way to do it. Good. We were in the right place. The search,
our hearts were in the right place.
The search helped us get there, and we were on the right track. So let's see. Okay, so like I said, I had at least one more topic that I think you have already been down this road. Oh yeah, one more. If you want to extend an Angular app with some custom Webpack config, NGX Build Plus has an option, like I mentioned. Thanks. Okay. So you've been doing some live streaming recently, and you kind of took a shift away from Angular work and started going down the path of using React. And
I went to the dark side.
you went to the dark side, and
the dark side's pretty fun.
I stared at you with squinted eyes as you did.
I know. So for people who don't know about my stream, maybe Brandon would often come by and stop by when I was doing Angular stuff. But I've noticed recently, since I've done React stuff, Brandon will show up. He'll say something like SMH or shake his head and looking at the React code, and then he'll leave. So
that's what I do. I just pop in and say a few words sometimes, and then I pop back out. I just want to see what's going on in React land.
Yeah.
So what was I'll go ahead and bring up the question here. From your point of view, what's React development like in an NX workspace? Because we have I would say we have a lot of traction with NX, like in the Angular ecosystem, but there are a few people out there using React that use it along with NX that have some success there, but definitely want to grow that audience. So what's your perspective been like, just kind of working with React and building your project and that whole thing?
Right. So I've got a lot of thoughts on React, and a lot of it is like unrefined at this moment. But I'm happy to talk about especially some of the cool stuff that you get from using NX with React, especially coming at it from an Angular developer. Mm-hmm. So to give some background on my situation, I had been a professional software developer for a couple of years before coming into web development. So before I'd been doing like Java and actually programming IVRs, which is like the phone systems you call into when you call like your cable company and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Coming into web development was like this huge breath of fresh air. And a lot of that was because I came in right when Angular 2 was coming out, and the developer experience was just like orders of magnitude above what I had been in before. And a lot of that is like because of the things Angular was coming out with, like the architect, or what became the architect API. So when you run the CLI, you just have all these things already working for you. You got TypeScript, you've got the CLI will give you like step-by-step instructions on how to build your project. And Nrwl came along a couple years later and came out with the Angular console, which was this amazing tool, I thought, for discovering everything that this Angular CLI could do. Mm-hmm. And since I've come on, we've rebranded that. Not that it was any of my work, but we rebranded the Angular console to the NX console. Mm-hmm. And now you can use like all of the stuff you're used to as a Angular developer as a React developer. So I honestly, how I started getting into React, I didn't have any knowledge aside from like maybe kicking the tires on StackBlitz a couple of times. Mm-hmm. I went on stream without any prior knowledge and opened the NX console and said, what can I do here? And I saw, okay, I can make a React lib, did that. I can make a React component, did that. And it's like a lot of that felt extremely, extremely similar to my experience as an Angular developer. Like when I first came into web development, coming from Java world into this, it was the same exact feeling. And the NX console, I think, is criminally, in my opinion, undervalued in terms of its ability for like discoverability. Like you can find, if you have the NX console, which is available as a VS Code plugin these days, if you open up that plugin, open it up in VS Code, you can see, all the different stuff you can do, all the things you can generate. You can click around. Like sometimes I'll just go clicking around to see, okay, what can I build? What can I test? What can I generate? And that's kind of how I got into the React stuff. So it's a very valuable tool, I think, in terms of structuring your project, figuring out what the, I guess in React's case, it's what the Nrwl / React package has available to it. So there's a lot of, obviously there's a lot of other considerations with React. And I quite like it for a lot of things, actually. But there's definitely some.
I see where this is going now.
No, I'm not. I'm still, I think, firmly in Angular's court in terms of just because I'm so familiar with it at this point. But there's definitely some interesting things about React that are it's different in some ways. I didn't expect it to be different. And I don't know if we want to get into that because it's not super NX relevant, but yeah, there's
we can talk about it. I'll bring up the NX console page here really quick, just so that people can see that you can install it from the VS Code marketplace. I did see something recently that, if I can bring it up here, that there is a NX plugin or NX plugin in the works for WebStorm. Well, this is, like I said, this is not an official one from the team, but definitely, if I can bring it up here, I'll show this banner here, but and I'll copy this link and show it in the chat here. But definitely NX WebStorm plugin, so definitely check that out. Also, just recently came out, I believe. Yeah, NX console. Like you said, I use NX console, and I'm always like, why don't I use this more? Because it just makes it makes generating all the things so much easier, and like you don't have to find projects.
You don't need to be remembering all those options in your head.
Those things. So yeah, if you're definitely getting started with NX, definitely try out the NX console there. As I mentioned before, there's another one for the NX WebStorm plugin that was recently released. Because I know we have a lot of WebStorm. We have a lot of WebStorm users at Nrwl. I know for sure.
Dude, it's so funny. I went the other way. I feel like everyone's switching from VS Code to WebStorm now. I started in WebStorm and then switched to VS Code because I thought that's where the hype was going, and now I feel stranded there. I can't switch again. I'm too old for that mess, man.
I know the feeling. I'm still in the process of trying WebStorm, and like my brain is like mentally tied to VS Code at this point. So I have to take some more time to do that.
It's the key bindings. I can't like relearn again. I could probably figure out how to like use the same key bindings in WebStorm, but yeah,
you'll make Jason and the other WebStorm Nrwlians happy if you switch back. But yeah, as far as we derailed a little bit, but yeah, what else about using React? Like you touched on like the generation side of things, but I guess in general, your experience using React within NX was pretty smooth as far as the part beside like the learning curve of React itself. Like I guess the infrastructure side of it was pretty seamless.
Yeah, so I think this kind of speaks to some of the potential of NX as well as we kind of keep expanding it. So we had in chat here Bucky talking about the Vue plugin that I had tried before, and now the React one. I feel like obviously there's some domain specific knowledge there that you need to know, like how to use Vue, how to use React. But I feel like for the most part, I can just as long as the NX assets are there, as long as the schematics and the builders are there, I can just take the knowledge I have and have it, you know, transferred to these other frameworks pretty seamlessly. Like I run the NX generate to make my components, and then I just run NX serve, and things just work. I don't need to worry about Webpack or any of those other things. Or so you're able to get on your feet really quick. That's pretty awesome about NX, and especially so seeing stuff happen like the Python plugin come in from Diana or the Go plugin come in from Bman. I'm actually like, maybe I should learn those things because like they've got NX stuff for it now. I might as well. Like,
if it's going to be that easy or straightforward to get up and running, it's like, why not?
Oh, coming from like the Java world too, man. It was just like, I don't want to learn something new. Like, it's going to take me a month to figure out exactly how to, you know, manage dependencies and do all this other stuff. So having all that stuff there for you is super cool. Maybe going into some of the domain specific stuff about React that was different from Angular in a way I found surprising was just I assumed working in Angular that kind of working with Arcs.js, this was like not Angular specific knowledge. Like I could kind of use the same things I had learned, and you know, there must be some equivalent of like the async pipe in all these other frameworks. And things, I don't know, it's almost like things just aren't set up to be used that way. And maybe that's just a little bit of like taking a problem and turning it 45 degrees in a way I didn't expect is kind of the way I see that. So I talked with Adam from Nrwl. He's mainly a React guy. He loves Arcs.js too. So whereas in Angular, you kind of like use your templating with the async pipe to just like kind of pull or tweeze those values out of the observable as they're coming through inside the templating. Like React just doesn't work that way. Like it's about like calling these functions, like especially if you're using the functional components with the hooks, you're calling these functions to create your components each time. And so it just doesn't work, you know? So instead you have to use what Adam has advised me is using the use effect hook to kind of set up and listen to the observables, which is, you know, it's definitely interesting. You're kind of, it's kind of akin to, you know, subscribing into something in Angular at either inside the constructor or in the ng on init, and just kind of like putting that into a class property. But then you can kind of like, you know, then you can kind of like template stuff without the async pipe. So that's the best analogy I can get to going from Angular to React in that world. So that was just kind of surprising to me. I thought like I'd even messed around with StackBlitz, like trying to make like a component that worked like the async pipe. It just like took an observable and kind of unwrapped it. So I don't know, maybe something like that would be interesting or could work too. But it was just a little surprising about that. I don't think, I just it was surprising to me that stuff I thought would be universal was kind of not. So, but the whole functional component idea is super cool. Like, I know
you talked about like you were able to just like generate a component, and I know like at least in React you can just generate a component. You generate two components and you just like drop one component into the other and you just use it. So
for sure. Like
part about it was like super simple.
Yeah, like in Angular, I feel like without a CLI, it would have been really hard to make components. With React, you definitely don't need it. Like it's kind of nice for being able to like architect your project or scaffold it like consistently. But like it feels like it's set up so you could like inline a component if you needed to, which is really cool. Like especially for like these smaller things. Like I definitely feel in Angular sometimes there's an impulse to not make too many smaller components when you can just maybe encapsulate that in one larger parent component, because you don't.
So you're saying there's some big components out there that could.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have if it's a question of, do I add 20 lines to my one component, or do I create 4 more files for this smaller component that, is, a unit? It's, complete, but do I really want to go through the process? Even with having the CLI, do I really want to go through a process of adding 4 more files to the code base? That's like, it's a question. And I feel like at least for React, it's I would feel like if I didn't have this thing drilled into me that's like one component per file, or even one component per directory, I would definitely be like creating several smaller components in one file. Because, especially if they're not that large, especially if they're just like non-smart component, you don't need that much. You just need as many lines as the HTML you want to put on the screen. So that leads to another thing, which is just like inspecting the DOM is interesting, because there's no, like, the components are not really components. Like they just kind of dissolve out, and you're left with actual just DOM. So in Angular, of course, you have like the actual tags you're creating that you actually see in the DOM as you're doing stuff. So you can see very discreetly, this is where one component starts and one ends. It's kind of weird to just be like, wait, where is everything?
I've looked at that before, and like you said, just the mental idea of, like, all I've ever known with components it's like selectors, right? And that's how you like target things when you're like, okay, I need to go debug this thing on the page. Let me go find the selector for that. And in Angular, it's there, it's a thing. You can have optional ones, but in React, there's just no concept of that thing that you can kind of easily grasp onto in that way.
Yeah. It's all about, like, well, especially with the functional components, it's a function that returns some chunk of DOM, and then they just take that chunk, throw it in there. And some of that's like kind of refreshing. I mean, in Angular, I feel like we have like the whole like CSS encapsulation put in there on purpose to kind of keep things, properly encapsulated. But React there's something kind of just maybe refreshing, I think, about just letting it be out there. And it's like, the CSS, it's harder to like properly encapsulate things, but it is it feels like it doesn't require as much of a mental load. Like some things, Angular material is amazing. Amazing library, but there's sometimes, if you want to like target this one thing about like your map button, for example, it's kind of hard to do. So it feels like you just don't have that problem in React. And also like the Angular CDK, and just going back to buttons again. Angular material is doing all this really cool stuff around like creating a button that is semantically correct still, while still being its own component, right? It feels like those things are just not a concern for React because of the way things just kind of dissolve. It's just stuff in there. So you could have a React button component that wraps a button, like a button HTML element, and it's semantically correct. It's already there. The bad part is like it doesn't stay there. Like you got to keep all that stuff in sync yourself. Whereas like the Angular material stuff will make sure that stuff stays in sync for you with accessibility and the things. So you're a lot closer to the metal. You're taking on maybe a little more responsibility, but in the right hands, I feel like that could be a really powerful tool. So,
okay.
I don't know. I'm still like compiling all these thoughts on React. So I'd love to put out some content on this eventually too. So.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to that. If you get some spare cycles to to put those ideas out there. Kyle did say in the chat there's a lib that has use observer, which semantically does the same thing as the async pipe.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I think I had a conversation with Ben Lesh about a couple of months ago now, but I think he had talked about, like his experience with using React, like from an Angular dev perspective, or using RxJS within React in that way. And he was considering putting a library together, but I haven't looked to see if anything has popped up on that. But definitely something there. We'll get one more question, and then I think we'll wrap up for today. I think it's pretty straightforward. Does it make sense to start an Angular project in NX from the get-go, or shall we wait till we get a final project developed with Angular CLI and then do a migration to NX? So I'm going to bring that question back up there. So my answer is pick up your coins. No.
It's my ring. I always fiddle with it.
Yeah.
Sorry,
so my question will say start your Angular project with NX from the get-go, because it's definitely going to shape some of the decisions that you make as far as how you go about separating out things into applications and libraries, how you organize, how you have more organization around the structure of your app, and even at the app module, at the application level, like what things you actually have in your app module if you're using the approach recommended by NX, where you're going to have a lot of libraries, you're going to share a lot of utility libraries and have feature libraries and data access libraries. So I would definitely recommend starting with NX from the get-go, and then starting with that and working along using those practices that we promote within an NX workspace. The other side of that is that even if you don't, you can migrate to an NX workspace, pretty easily. We have some support now to where even if you have an existing Angular CLI project, you can migrate to an NX workspace without moving all your files around. And then you can incrementally start creating libraries that you can use within your newly converted Angular CLI workspace as you kind of move towards breaking things down into libraries and taking more advantage of the affected commands with NX to only build and test or link to particular things that were changed, which is one of the big features of NX itself, is the affected projects, or that functionality.
Mm-hmm. Maybe just to echo what you said, Brandon, I think one of the biggest pieces of what you said is just when you use NX and you kind of follow what we put out in our book for the way you should develop your applications. Your application should be pretty small, and your libraries should have all the code. And that, to me, moving from having everything in your app when you're working with the Angular CLI, because that's kind of where you get pushed to, right? Like I think they do support libs in the CLI, but it still feels like you're kind of being pushed to put everything into that app.
Right, because if you're just working with the CLI out of the box, you generate an app and you generate a library, it's going to be like basically a publishable library out of the box. Mm-hmm. And then you have to go and then build that library before you can consume it within your app. And let's say you got 50 of those, or not even 50, you got 5. And they maybe need to be built in a particular order. So then it becomes more challenging to be able to do that.
And we've done a lot of really cool improvements on migrating over an Angular project to the NX, but I imagine it's still not trivial, especially if you're at that point where you've got 50 libs from the Angular CLI. So it's probably, I definitely say it's better to buy into NX early if you're going to buy in. It's if you've made the decision to go with the Angular CLI, like the vanilla CLI, it's not a Herculean task anymore to get that put into a NX workspace. But I think you are saving your time if you start with NX for sure. But just that going from that mental model of everything being into the app, it feels like you're kind of in this hodgepodge of code that doesn't have clear boundaries. And to if you use like the tools that NX gives you, where you can easily like pump out these libraries, it's kind of like they're nothing, right? And you just serve, and it's like it's nothing. Like there's no coordination. You actually have to, well, very little coordination. You actually have to run. You still got to like import the ng modules and export them and that kind of thing. But
Right.
it's relatively little work, and you can get into this really nice situation where you have these very clearly defined buckets of code. And you can like isolate them and make sure each one's working the way you expect it to. And
Mhm.
yeah, I think your developer life just kind of gets better. Your developer experience gets better when you're in that world. So.
Yep. Adam chimed in chat. He says he knows of a little library that makes using observables in React pretty cool and easy. So we're gonna have to
Just
get
keeping us in suspense.
that.
Wait, is that an unintentional pun?
I see what you did there. I see what you did. We're gonna have to have Adam back on. It's been a little while since he's been back on to talk more about React stuff, because I know that's right in his area. Because I know he's helped you on your live streams, and Ben can talk more about like React development from like an NX perspective in that way. So yeah, we have to get Adam back on, along with B-Man and some of the other people in the community that are doing cool stuff.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, it's awesome to see the community come out for NX. Just the people in the chat, all y'all rock. Thank you. Thank you for using it. For those of you contributing, thank you for contributing. It's really cool to see what all of us can do when we come together. So
yeah, so on that, I think we'll wrap up there. Of course, you can follow NX DevTools on Twitter, and you can send us messages there. We have people monitoring those accounts. As we showed before, check out our docs at nx.dev. We have a community Slack channel that anyone can join if you have more questions that we haven't answered here, or you just want to join in with the rest of the community, you can do that. So we have plenty of places that you can get help with NX. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel yet, you should definitely be hitting that subscribe button and hitting that bell for those notifications. And you can definitely.
You gotta ask them to smash the like button too.
Oh,
Brandon.
smash that like button, the subscribe, and the bell.
There you go.
There you go. Did I get all three? Did I get all of them?
I think that's when I watch my kids watch YouTube, that's what they seem to say. So I think we got it covered.
Okay, cool. And also, if you want to get emails about when we do the next edition of NX Office Hours, you can sign up for those on our community page. I'm going to bring that back up here one more time. It's at nx.dev/NX community. And this has all the different ways you can reach us for community, and like I said, along with our plugins that we maintain and our community plugins. So definitely check all that out. And Zach, thank you once again for coming on. It's always a pleasure. And we will see y'all next time. See ya.
Bye.